While some say the sex robots are the next step in evolution, many experts fear that the lack of guidelines and regulations can lead to some alarming consequences.
From delivery drones to automated cars, now there's robots you can have sex with. They're known as sex bots, and while it may revolutionize sex for some, these lifelike dolls have sparked a global debate about moral and legal ethics.
Sex is one of the most fascinating things in the world.
They look like us, talk like us, and they even move like us. These life-size silicone dolls are being created with areas to look and feel as lifelike as possible.
This is a very interesting perspective I have not heard anybody bring up regarding the topic of sex robots. I saw this article, and at first glance, the title, you're just like thinking maybe it's just somebody overreacting to this topic of sex robots, someone that's religious. But in actuality, what they make as a point is very valid, and it's something most people have not even thought about. Could be the end result of these things becoming very popular, that in reality it could actually cause there to be more human sex workers and more people exploited, and even things as evil as rape or things like sex slavery that happen in the dark corners of the world could actually start booming and getting larger. And it all has to do with, it all stems from the idea of the psychology of having, I guess you would say, a relationship with a sex robot. And this didn't come from some religious person. It actually came from, originally, someone who dealt with the artificial intelligence of robots, them pointing out how this could actually become a very nefarious thing. Let's look at this real quick. This is sort of interesting how they framed this. Someone from the Salvation Army is very obviously not happy about this and point out sort of the detrimental effect on both existing and potential victims of modern slavery rather than decreased demand for real sex workers. The innovation came after a report of burgeoning technology gave warnings about the dark side of the rapidly advancing technology. It could involve issues of rape and pedophilia. Catherine Taylor of the Salvation Army's Anti-Trafficking and Modern Slavery Unit said that androids, some of which have sensors responsive to touch and can be programmed with personalities, could encourage sex to be viewed as a commodity. She said it could fuel demand for sex with people and lead traffickers exploiting more vulnerable individuals to meet this demand. Okay, so it doesn't fulfill the real need for human interaction, but of rewarding, loving relationships, but is actually something of more exploitative nature. And down here, we have this artificial intelligence specialist, Professor Noel Sharkey, who co-authored the Foundation for Responsible Robotics report on sex robots, said compliant and uncomplaining sex robots could encourage objectification, abuse, rape, and pedophilia in certain situations. Professor Sharkey of the University of Sheffield warned a robot program to resist sexual advances was effectively a rape victim, and that inanimate, childlike sex robots being manufactured in Japan should be banned from the UK. Wow, I didn't know Japan was actually manufacturing children ones. This is really disgusting and disturbing. Already 4 U.S. companies are selling an assortment of Randy androids aimed at both men and women, whose names include Roxy Gold, Harry Hard Drive. Prices range from £4,000 to £11,600 for the Harmony Supermodel. Unlike the mannequin-style sex dolls from which they evolved, the sex bots can adopt different positions, simulate sexual movement, and even display orgasms. So the whole issue is that if you have this robot that resists sexual advances, and then the person knows it's a robot that's using it, it could simulate, in a sense, a rape situation and actually encourage that type of activity. Of course, also if you have a sex robot that doesn't resist any advances but is completely compliant, it would kind of give the idea of sort of a false narrative that you can get whatever you want whenever you want. You know what I mean? So this could actually make someone more so objectify women to be just some sort of compliant whatever to do whatever you want. Or actually men in this case as well, because there's actually male sex robots as well for women to buy. But the very disturbing ones are there. I didn't even know there were childlike sex robots. That's really disgusting. I didn't know they even had those. Apparently, there's some being manufactured in Japan, which obviously that would encourage pedophilia. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out, right? So you can see how this can be a very detrimental thing on society. If you have this being encouraged, it objectifies, it makes people think they can get what they want whenever they want. And then this could also lead to people wanting real women to or real men, and they can just do whatever they want with them, which would then lead to more abuse and things of this nature, more victims. I think actually it's a relevant point. I haven't heard anybody bring this up, but it actually makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. And it is sort of a disturbing trend in seeing how this technology is just being growing with leaps and bounds of recent. And then, of course, there's all these other things that have been happening of recent, too. There's other types of robots that have been surfacing as well. There's also security robots that have been showing up in malls now. And, of course, that can condition people into thinking that robots, security robots, can be just very friendly because they don't have weapons or anything. All they can do is just assist in a situation. And when people, get used to robots everywhere, then they'll start giving them more and more rights to do more things. Maybe give them a gun, maybe allow them to arrest people, and eventually you could end up with something like a T2. And of course, with, it sounds kind of crazy at first glance, but the fact is, artificial intelligence has grown so much with leaps and bounds with this deep mind AI, to where that it actually is not only more intelligent on just a cursory level with winning a chess match, but also they're able to adapt and actually self-learn, even create their own languages now. So they even have robots that are creating their own languages so they can communicate with other robots and learn as they go and develop their own personalities. And of course, as with the whole narrative of the movie Terminator, it sort of decides that humanity's in its way and then decides to take out humanity. So who is to say that something like that could not happen one day? Or maybe someone who's got nefarious desire to control the world. Well, gee, I wonder who that might be. There's a lot of people who want to do that. The elites, they could use robots to control massive amounts of people, and basically have sort of a totalitarian setup, perhaps the New World Order, one world government where they have robots controlling and being the security of everything. Sounds really disturbing and shocking, but the speed at which these new technologies are being released, it's not something of a fictional tale as much now. It seems like something that actually could potentially become a reality one day.